did teach a class on ancient Athenian law. That's the law of the Athenian democracy, which was around from about 508 to 323 BC. So it's old and obviously not the law of any existing jurisdiction. And unlike Roman law, it's not the case that some contemporary law really has its roots in ancient Athenian law. So in many ways, it's really this law that flourished in one particular place at one particular time and doesn't exist anymore. And it's not taught in almost any other law schools. What's interesting about the class, or at least what's interesting to me, is that it offers, in one sense, a class in comparative law, because here is another legal system. It is a history class, because obviously it's an old legal system, but because we're not really trying to discover, we're not historians, exactly how the Athenian legal system worked, and we don't need to go practice in an Athenian legal system, or even know that other people are practicing it the way we might be interested in, the French legal system. The question is much more theoretical, so in some ways it's also a jurisprudence class, and the question, or set of questions around which I organized the class is that the Athenian democracy, their legal system, is most famous for the trial of Socrates, where he is found guilty and executed. And that is typically seen as a colossal injustice and a failure of the Athenian legal system. And without doubting that that is true, that is in many ways an unsatisfactory answer in terms of thinking about the Athenian legal system, because, among other reasons, it operated successfully for almost 2 centuries. At its height, the Athenian polis had somewhere on the order of 250,000 people, so a lot of people for sort of a pre-modern society. And it sustained itself, at least a big part of this period, through trade. So people were coming from all over the Mediterranean world to trade in Athens, and if they didn't, they couldn't support 250,000 people. And so it can't be the case that a city that was able to support itself and people were coming to execute contracts, etc., in the city could possibly have done so if this legal system didn't function very well. The class is organized around trying to understand how something that looks so different was able to achieve recognizable and successful sort of social legal order. And again, in terms of my general interest in broadening the perspective of students and also giving them, or thinking about deep conceptual questions, the class is satisfying that way. But it's also a practical class, which might seem strange, but it's practical because lawyers need to be readers, need to be careful readers. And reading the limited speeches and other legal artifacts we have from ancient Athens and reading them to understand how this system worked requires careful and close reading. And I think that skill, as well as the broader imaginative skill of understanding how an ancient society worked, are actually useful for lawyers.